There's some truth in the saying that Idaho is what America was. From the lakes and forests of the Panhandle, to the mountains of central Idaho, to the irrigated farms and arid rangelands of the South, Idaho's natural beauty and abundant resources still retain the promise and possibility of the American frontier. Among all of Idaho's natural gifts, our single most important resource, the one that ties all the others together, is water. And one of the most important elements for maintaining Idaho's water quality and quantity is forests. Forests cover more than 40% of Idaho. Idaho forests provide wildlife habitat, recreation, a renewable source of forest products, and many other values. Forests receive more rain and snow than non-forested areas. That's part of the reason trees grow there. This water does more than grow trees. It eventually forms streams which join together to form rivers and lakes that provide water for drinking and household needs, for agriculture, fisheries, and recreation. Through all these uses, Idaho uses over 17 billion gallons of water per day. Water from forests is particularly valuable because it is so clean. Clean water is essential to Idaho's economy and quality of life. The majority of forested land in Idaho is federally owned. However, 11% of Idaho forests are owned by thousands of farmers, ranchers, and other family forest owners. Our forest activities, as well as development, agriculture, and other land uses, often affect water quality and quantity. The first segment of this program will describe how water moves through the forest, how our forest activities can affect that water, and what landowners and operators can do to enhance forest water quality. In Part 2, we'll outline the Idaho Forest Practices Act, a state law that sets minimum best management practices to guide forest management activities that can affect water quality. Forests receive the highest precipitation rates in Idaho, ranging from 15 to 30 inches a year in drier Idaho forest to over 60 inches in high elevation forest. The precipitation on most family forest ranges between 15 and 40 inches annually. Most of this precipitation falls in the winter as snow. Water from rain and snow moves through the forest in many ways. Some of the water evaporates from tree crowns before it ever reaches the ground. Some of it enters the soil where it is absorbed and used by plants, fungi, and soil organisms. After the ground has absorbed all it can, some of the water flows above and below ground to an aquifer, to a wetland, or to streams. Looking at a broader landscape level, much of the water moving through a forest moves first to ephemeral areas that collect water temporarily and into intermittent or seasonal streams. Intermittent streams in turn drain into perennial or year-round streams or wetlands. As we get closer to areas where water is more concentrated, from ephemeral areas to wetlands and streams, we come to riparian zones. A healthy riparian zone supports a diverse web of vegetation and wildlife. The lush vegetation in a riparian zone provides water, cover, and travel corridors for forest animals. It shades water, keeping it cool for fish. Riparian vegetation also helps stabilize stream banks during high water flows and trap sediment, keeping it out of streams while integrating it into stream banks. Over time, trees in riparian zones fall into streams and provide large organic debris which creates pools for fish habitat. As water moves to ephemeral areas and on to ever larger streams, it leaves the area at one point, a stream or outlet that marks its watershed. A watershed is a land area term used to describe water quantity and quality. Different watersheds are nested inside each other depending on the stream being referred to. For example, the Marble Creek watershed is nested in the St. Joe River watershed, which in turn is nested in the Spokane River watershed. Ultimately, most of Idaho's water drains to the Columbia River watershed. We receive many benefits from Idaho's forests: forest products and the jobs that go with them, land for home sites, wildlife habitat, beautiful environments for recreation. In the pursuit of these benefits, we sometimes alter the forest, which can affect water that moves through forests. Water that flows over the top of the soil surface has the most potential impact on forest water quality. As water moves downhill over the soil surface, gravity gives it energy. In undisturbed forests, this energy is dissipated by vegetation and debris on the forest floor and in riparian areas. This gives the water time to soak into the soil, a process known as infiltration, and little soil erosion occurs. Water quality is relatively high. However, if soil is bare, infiltration is reduced, and the energy of moving water can dislodge soil and carry it downhill, especially during the first few years after soil is exposed. Some of this soil resettles elsewhere on the forest floor. Some of it eventually winds up in streams, where it either falls to the bottom or is deposited as sediment on stream banks during high water. The amount of erosion that occurs and the resulting sediment that reaches the stream are often higher when rainfall is heavy or when rain falls on snow, causing faster snowmelt and more total water. More water means more energy to dislodge and move soil. Some erosion and sedimentation is natural. However, if the forest is heavily disturbed, either naturally by a fire or a slump, or by our activities, the amount of sediment can increase greatly. The primary sources of sediment from forest activities are roads and trails, whether they're used to harvest timber, access home sites, or to recreate. These activities take on even greater significance closer to the stream. Heavily disturbed riparian areas lose some of their ability to filter sediment before it reaches the stream. You might think that one or two forest roads wouldn't harm forest water quality, and you might be right. But when a large number of seemingly separate timber harvests, housing developments, fires, or other disturbances occur within a few years across the same watershed, the effect of all of them added together, the cumulative effect, can reduce forest water quality. What's the cost? High sediment concentrations in streams make water less drinkable and increase treatment costs. Sediment deposited in a stream bed damages habitat for fish, such as cutthroat trout and aquatic organisms which need relatively clean gravel to reproduce. Sediment also carries nutrients, too much of which can reduce water quality in lakes. Sediment that accumulates in reservoirs shortens their life and is expensive to remove. Most forest soil erosion and sediment deposition occurs during a handful of large rain or snow melt events. The best way to enhance forest water quality is to plan and implement forest roads and other disturbances so the resulting modifications in the forest minimize erosion and sedimentation during these peak events. Forest practices have improved considerably over the last 50 years. But as forests receive more intensive use, greater attention and care are required. For example, get to know your property. Some soils are more erodible or less stable than others. Locate areas on your property that are especially vulnerable to erosion. These are the areas to watch in future forest activities. Look for landslides or slumps and check soil survey maps if available. Put together a forest management plan. A written forest management plan helps frame decisions affecting water quality and other forest values. It also improves communication with loggers and others working on a property. Keep as little area in roads and skid trails as possible. Roads and skid trails are more prone to erosion. They also remove valuable forest land. The less mileage and width in roads and skid trails, the better. If you or your neighbors are building roads, try to communicate with each other to see how you can cooperate to create more efficient road systems that are beneficial for everyone in the area. Build roads in stable places, away from riparian zones. When possible, build roads along contours, on ridges rather than drainages or near riparian areas, and away from highly erodible or slump-prone areas. Keep new road grades at less than 8% if possible. Plan roads and skid trails for future harvests. Well-planned roads and designated skid trails can be used for future harvests as well, avoiding new erosion. Build adequate drainage into roads. Forest roads act as a water drainage network. Specific drainage structures, such as rolling dips, water bars, and culverts, divert water from the road quickly. This prevents erosion and saturation, which can lead to road failure. Be sure to prepare for those times when the most rain tends to fall on the particular site, such as rain-on-snow events. Use the least disturbing logging methods practicable for the harvest and reforestation. For example, minimize the area in skid trails and landings. Avoid making steep skid trails. Wet soils are more vulnerable to compaction and disturbance. Compaction usually reduces tree growth and reduces water infiltration. Try to log when soils are either dry or frozen. Less disturbing logging methods also save nutrients and help soil retain moisture for future trees. Get a written contract for timber sales. Although the Idaho Forest Practices Act sets minimum standards for maintaining forest water quality during timber harvest, thinning, and other forest management practices, written timber sale contracts can be used to build further incentives to enhance water quality. Forest water quality protection is not over when a harvest is complete. Maintain forest roads. Normally, forest roads stabilize after a few years if they are well planned, constructed, and maintained. Maintaining roads lessens erosion and keeps them useful for the future. Clean out culverts, water bars, and other water drainage structures. Drainage structures may wear down or fill up with debris, so they should be cleaned out or repaired regularly. If current drainage is inadequate, install new or additional structures. Be sure to check road drainage during the winter and early spring thaws as well. Close roads seasonally or permanently. Roads not in use should be closed to prevent impact, at least during wet seasons when they are most vulnerable. For access during fire season or other times of the year, put in gates. Don't overburden roads. If a road was designed for light loads or temporary use, heavy equipment or traffic may stress the road and lead to failure. Don't assume that an old logging road will be suitable for home site development. It may require considerable improvements for the new use, or it might be better to construct an entirely new road. If you're considering using an old logging road or skid trail for a home site, contact a professional engineer to help you evaluate whether the road is suitable. Add rock to road surfaces. Adding rock to heavily used roads reduces erosion, allows use during wet seasons, and increases road efficiency. This may also increase the value of your timber by making it more accessible than sites with less prepared roads. Seed grass and legumes. Seeding road cuts and fill slopes, skid trails, and other bare areas holds the soil and benefits wildlife. Plant willows or alders along stream banks. Woody plantings stabilize stream banks, intercept sediment, slow the stream during high water flows, and provide shade for fish and other wildlife. Limit recreational use. Stay on established trails. Don't cut across established switchbacks. Avoid those areas where sediment from erosion may end up in streams. Evaluate grazing in riparian areas. Riparian areas produce a lot of high-quality forage, but if they're grazed too heavily or at the wrong time of year, added stream bank erosion can result. Be careful when mixing potentially toxic materials. Avoid mixing or using pesticides, fertilizers, petroleum products, and similar materials near riparian areas. Much of what makes Idaho great comes either directly or indirectly from our abundant forests. To maintain and enhance this natural heritage, we must carefully steward Idaho's forests. Management practices change as we learn more about the effects of natural and man-made disturbances on forest water quality. This program is only an introduction. Several agencies can provide assistance to help you better manage your forest land for high water quality. Many forest management practices are regulated to comply with best management practices outlined in the Idaho Forest Practices Act. The Idaho Department of Lands, IDL, employs forest practice advisors who inspect harvests and other forest activities for compliance with the Idaho Forest Practices Act. FPA advisors provide on-site technical assistance to private forest landowners and operators. The Natural Resources Conservation Service provides technical assistance related to soil erosion and conservation planning. They also conduct soil surveys, which may help you identify areas of special risk related to forest water quality. The NRCS and Idaho Soil and Water Conservation Districts also administer financial assistance programs for landowners interested in applying conservation measures on their property. Keep in mind that funds are not available if the measures are required to comply with the Idaho Forest Practices Act. Finally, University of Idaho Extension offers a wide variety of publications, workshops, and other educational programs designed to strengthen landowners' skills related to forest and natural resource management. Check your local listings under university or county. Keeping sediment out of streams is vital to maintaining the natural resources all Idahoans cherish. The best way to keep forest water clean is to manage our forest with care. Remember, no single landowner works alone. Individual practices and individual decisions play a cumulative part in the quality of water throughout the state. Each of us must steward forest land to make sure that Idaho remains economically strong and naturally beautiful.